So I want to move from that to talk about some additional things that you can do to kind of leverage what exists here in the Catskills. And I think, you know, there's a terrific, as we mentioned, there's a great resource here. How do you take that and make the most of it? And there's a couple of different, I think, things to think about. First is just, you know, kind of real simple, promoting tourism. How do you take something that is a great, attractive resource that maybe not everybody knows about and get more people to know about? And one of the things actually that's, to me, very interesting, you talk about the Adirondacks. There's some great commercials, I think, about the Adirondacks and just how big it is. You know, it's bigger than, you know, they have the I don't know if you see it, there's a map of the Adirondacks and it puts like Yellowstone and 3 or 4 other parks inside, and you say, wow, that is really a terrific resource. And I think that's a good message. You know, likewise, the Catskills has tremendous resources that, again, I think most people don't know about. And a lot of the people who would take advantage of it, if they knew it, whether it's canoeing or whether it's rock climbing, whether it's hiking or whatever, you know, you have to get the word out. You have to, you know, I'm a marketing guy by training, so I'm a big believer in marketing what you got. And I think there's a real opportunity there. A second is cooperation. You know, individually, it's tough to get, you know, we have limited resources as individual organizations or as individual groups, but if we can pool our resources and maybe create more, you know, sometimes the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts or whatever. I think that's very true, and I think there's a terrific thing that's going on here now that actually other people have made me aware of, which is the Hudson River School Art Trail, where I think it's Olana and the Thomas Cole site and New York State and several other organizations are cooperating to promote the fact that you can go to specific you can hike, which is a great outdoor activity, in the Catskills, to specific sites and see where different Hudson River School paintings were actually painted. And they have little interpretive signs where you can go, and, you know, really a clever idea. It appeals to people who like to hike. It appeals to people who like, you know, art. It appeals to people who, you know, with a variety of interests. And I think it's something that can generate, you know, a lot of economic benefit as well by attracting that audience. Then the third area, and this is where it gets a little bit more ambitious, if you will, is can you make an investment that creates even more of a draw? In the Adirondacks, they did the Wild Center, which is up in Lake Luzerne, I think? Tupper Lake, excuse me. Where it's, I don't know, $20 million investment there that was used to highlight what's in the Adirondacks and also attract people, give people a reason to go there, to go to the museum, and then they get a greater appreciation. Hopefully they'll come back. One I'm also familiar with, the Grand Canyon, I think it's the South Rim is the best view of the Grand Canyon. But there's an Indian tribe that I think is on the east or the west rim, and I'm not remembering which one it is now. But what they did, it was not as popular a spot. What they did is they invested in what's called the Skywalk, which is basically a porch, if you will, with a glass floor that you can walk out onto, and then you can look straight down however far there is, a mile down. And you have to have little booties on so that you don't scratch the glass. But it's something that's certainly very different and kind of a unique experience, and it gives people a reason to go there as opposed to, you know, another part of the canyon. And so it's a tourist draw that leverages the fact that they have the Grand Canyon there. Even if it isn't the best view, it's an experience that you can't get. So maybe the first time you go to one, and the second time you go to a different location. So it gives, you know, again, it's an investment that was made to try to draw more people to that particular location and to create an economic driver in the community. And with all of these, I think what's really critically important is to try to get enough unified support from not just, again, the people in this room, but the chambers of commerce, the tourism boards, the interest groups, and it may be something like, you know, hikers. You know, hikers might be lawyers, they might be doctors, they might be business people, there might be a lot of different things, but if they're members of a hiking club, they're going to put that hat on and have a interest in supporting what you're doing here in the Catskills, because that's something that they see a value in. And if you can get that type of group together to support what you're doing, it dramatically expands your leverage in the community to get your message across and to get things done. So I think these are the kind of things that can be done, and I'm going to use, I think, a terrific example, and actually, when I got here was mentioning it. And I have to admit, I'm ashamed to say I haven't been on the walkway yet, which I feel really bad about. I almost got there a couple of times, but I haven't. But it's such a phenomenal success story. It cost a lot of money, $38.8 million. So it's maybe not something that you're going to start here today like this. But the original study, and they used an economic model similar to one that we talked about here, they expected 267,000 visitors, $14.6 million in spending, $21 million economic impact, $750,000 in local taxes, and 258 new jobs created. And everybody said, oh, you'll never, that's, pie in the sky kind of stuff. Well, they hit those numbers, I think, in the first 3 months. And the first year they had 780,000 visitors. So the amount of, even at $38.8 million in cost, the amount of, you can do the numbers and see that this is a project that's generating a tremendous return on investment. And there's just an article in the Daily News, I think a couple of weeks ago, talking about all the new private investment, restaurants and tourist amenities and things that are springing up near the walkway that are obviously creating a lot of benefits in terms of economics and tax revenue and jobs in the community. And it's all as a result of leveraging what is, I guess, the world's longest park, narrowly defined, but also the fact that it's the Hudson. I mean, because just having a big long bridge to walk across is not why people go there. They go there because they can see the Hudson River and they can, I guess, even see the Catskills from there. So really, it's the natural resources that are there that are the reason for this investment being successful. And it's a way to leverage those resources like what you have here to create an economic benefit. So I think that's a great success story. So here's some conclusions. First, I think it's important to quantify the benefits in economic terms so that you're dealing with numbers as opposed to people's more subjective points of view on things. And then the second part is to leverage what you've got. You've got a tremendous asset here in the Catskills. You've got, first of all, the location is, I think, like 40% of North America lives within 200 miles of here. Okay, and New York City is an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and Montreal is not that far away. Boston is not that far away. So you have a tremendous locational advantage over pretty much anywhere. The amount of different activities here, you can do hiking, rock climbing, skiing, hunting. There's just a wide diversity of activities that you can do in the natural areas that are in this area. There's tremendous history here and even art. The first school of painting in North America is based here. So there's, I think, tremendous resources here to take advantage of. It needs to be promoted and advertised, and that's something I think where the business interest in the community and the interest here in this room would find some common ground. And the challenge is to kind of get everybody on board to cooperate on the areas where there is some commonality of opportunity. So you can bring in the chambers of commerce, you can bring in the economic development groups or the county groups, local governments and other interest groups. If you can get all those people on the same page, you're not going to agree on everything, but there's certainly some things that I think everybody can agree on, and how do you take advantage of those areas? I think that's a challenge. So, one thing that you might want to look at is projects that might be a good place to start with in terms of where everybody can come to agreement on. And I know one of them is the scenic byway project that's being started, and that seems like a perfect example of that because it's something where you can attract some outside monies to improve the highway, to make it better to drive on maybe, and to create more interest from a tourism standpoint, to invest in infrastructure, to invest in the natural resources. All those things I think a lot of folks, there are a lot of organizations that would be interested in supporting, and maybe a good focal point to get everybody on the same page. So those are kind of the conclusions. When I saw Ken's presentation, he had a list like that, so I put a similar one together. And there's my contact information.